Hey Merfolk fans, I'm Joe. Thank you for joining me. I'm currently starting up a replay of Round 3 of a Modern Friendly League. I'm currently 2-0 after beating Scapeshift and Jeskai Control. I lost the die roll here. Let's have a look at the opening hand. So on the draw, this is a hand that I keep a good amount of the time. The opponent kept, and I kept. So potentially, this is the kind of hand where you're playing the odds, right? We're on the draw, so we have 19 lands left in the deck. So it's 19 out of 53. That's a lot of live draws. But we don't really even need the land on that draw. We need it before, our main phase on the second turn. So we're gonna have two shots with 19 lands left in the deck. I forget the math, but it's a pretty high chance of hitting it. In which case our hand gets totally turned on, and we get to keep drawing more cards, playing more bodies. But if we don't draw that land, then of course the hand just doesn't do anything. So the reason to keep this sort of 50% kind of hand is that I think the odds are better that this hand becomes excellent than that we mulligan to 6 and get an excellent hand. We could potentially have to mulligan to 5 or lower if we go to 6. So this hand is basically made except for another land drop. So that's why I choose to keep these on the draw sometimes. On the play, this would have been a mulligan. So the opponent has opened with a breeding pool into Ancient Stirrings, and we see that they're on Bant Eldrazi, or at least blue-green Eldrazi. So the opponent has revealed Matter Reshaper, not their most threatening card. So no land yet, but we hit a Cursecatcher. Opponent has the Temple, of course, and gets to run out that Matter Reshaper. I missed my land, so unfortunately I just have to pass. Sometimes you get caught with these kinds of hands. Opponent has access to 4 mana here, but looks like they just have another Matter Reshaper. That's a fast clock on itself by itself, though. We have an Echoing Truth if we hit a land, so that becomes an interesting option. If we hit a land there, I think I still would have been in this game. We whiffed once, and it was okay. We whiffed twice, and it was not so good. But still manageable, right? I mean, next turn he's coming with these guys, but if we drew a land on the third draw, it still would have been okay. We would have had Echoing Truth on their attack next turn, or we could have played Silvergill Adept and chumped or not. So showing again that these kinds of hands with a lot of card draw can totally be made pretty easily. We actually had 3 pretty live draws, but I hit that Cursecatcher, and at this point, things are super grim. It's possible I can dig back into it, but the opponent has access to 4 mana already for their Eldrazi. Well, they just turned Island Walk on. Now they have 5 mana. Going to attack with Matter Reshapers. We're sitting at 17. It's not quite time to double chump, so we'll just chump 1. Try to keep some life total if they throw out a Reality Smasher, but I'm pretty sure this game is in the bag already. Another Cursecatcher. So at this point, the deck is mocking me. Play out the Cursecatcher, pass back to the opponent. 5 mana, 6 mana. Well, there's that Reality Smasher I was talking about. And at this point, I think it might be double chump time. We're going to go down to 9 anyway, and there's the land, and again with the mocking, because we're way too far behind at this point. Echoing Truth leaves a 5/5 Trampler on the board, which kills us in 2 turns no matter what. Bouncing the Reality Smasher during attacks, we're still taking 6. We can play a Silvergill Adept and block. But the options are just really poor. I'll play out the Silvergill Adept, draw into an Island Walk Lord. I don't feel terrible about keeping that hand. It was a good hand. We had plenty of chances to turn it on. But sometimes, variance happens. And the opponent had a path just to push 11 next turn. So we lost that one. Let's go ahead and look at the second game. I'll be on the play this time. Get our attack going, hopefully. So this is a snap keep. Very aggressive hand. Got a little bit of card draw in it as well. So we're just going to pass to the opponent after playing an island. One's got a forest and a birds. It's pretty slow as well. So not getting punished for not having a Vial or a Cursecatcher or something. Well, that fourth land is not really necessary. I don't want to play out Silvergill Adept here, and, well, good to draw through that land at least, even if it doesn't help us immediately. See what the opponent has on their second turn. I think the opponent did keep on 7. I don't think they mulligan this game. Okay, a Hierarch, another Hierarch, and I guess that's it for the turn. So ramping pretty hard. Now that's a much better draw than another land. So this is an exciting position to be in, because we can play out a Reejerey, and if they just get greedy and play out something big, the next turn with all of these lands we get to play a lot of Lords. So play the Reejerey and just hope that he lives next turn. We can swing with the Silvergill Adept. Opponent will go down to 17. And yeah, let's see what they've got here. Okay, cracked the Windswept Heath for a Temple Garden, trying to keep me off of Island Walk. It's actually pretty effective at this point. So 6 mana available right now. So they're tapping pretty low. Up, backing it all up. Let's see. Okay, so it is a big boy. We're gonna get to next turn, hopefully, with Reejerey intact. Well, this birds could represent Dismember or Path. Definitely not going to block this big Reality Smasher. It's a 7/7 with double Exalted. It's a 3-turn clock off of a 5/5. It's pretty powerful. Okay, so Spreading Seas is an interesting draw. It's one of the few things that might prevent us from just strictly playing out all 3 Lords right now. So, you guys know the math. You know how this works. I'm going to play a Lord, untap a land. Play a Lord, untap a land. Alright, so at this point, I've got 9 points of damage, swinging, not with Island Walk. If I play out the Lord and tap the birds, then I'm swinging for 11. So if I play the Spreading Seas right now, he can't block, and I would swing for 9 with Island Walk. It's a 2-turn clock. I still have a Lord in reserve, can get tap triggers off of the Reejerey. So I think actually the better play here is going with Spreading Seas. Draw an extra card, get more knowledge about what we're going to be able to do next turn. So there's another Reejerey. So we're going to be able to play the second Reejerey, play this Lord, and we'll get a tap trigger off the first Reejerey that we don't need to use to untap lands because we've got plenty of lands. So we'll be able to tap something if he decides to go for blocks, and then we can follow up with 2 more tap triggers. And all my creatures will be like 6 or 7 power. So as I was mentioning, we're going to try to swing for 9. Hopefully the opponent doesn't have a Path or something in hand. Okay, so opponent at 2 cards at this point. Oh, I forgot to mention that the Spreading Seas took him off of colorless mana. He had a follow-up with Brushland that gives him access to colorless mana, but it was really important to choose the Cavern there because he had all of his colors, just not colorless once I hit the Cavern. So we were able to cut him off of things like Reality Smasher, Thought-Knot Seer. Unfortunately, he did have the follow-up. And he has a Nature's Claim for the Spreading Seas, so making these Reejerey triggers that much more valuable. I've still got a comfortable life total sitting at 17. We kind of whiffed there with our draw step. I don't think it's super important. But as I was mentioning, we can play the first Reejerey. Now, the tap targets here I think are going to be the Mana Dorks. We're going to have 3 tap triggers from Reejereys. If we tap down the Mana Dorks, all my guys are going to have at least 6 toughness. And there'll be 4 of them attacking. So he'll need to block. Let's see. If 2 of them get through, he's dead. So if we can tap 3 things down, it should just win the game. So cast Reejerey, tap the birds. He's empty-handed at this point, so we don't have to fear Path or anything like that. Follow up with Master. Now there are 2 Reejerey triggers. We'll tap the 2 other Dorks. At this point, even without Island Walk, we've got 2 guys getting through for like 13 damage. So Yeah, game 2, super powerful Merfolk hand and plays that game. We had 6 lords, I think, at the end. Let's see, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, no, just 5 lords, but still enough to get the job done. Let's see how game 3 went. Opponent's going to be on the play this time. This is a mulligan. We don't have access to strict blue mana. It's going to be bad for Kira. It's going to be bad for Spreading Seas. It's going to be bad for Vapor Snag. So this is pretty rough, but being on the draw, I think we can keep it. Spreading Seas is potentially pretty useful against this deck, and we've got the creatures to get there. So I don't love it. The opponent kept 7, and that guy has to get scryed to the bottom. So making good use of our scry. Alright, so a slow opening from the opponent. No birds, no hierarch, just a temple. Okay, so that's a great draw off the top. We can breathe a little bit. We'll at least get to draw a card off the Spreading Seas. So they have the temple, like they always do. And we're going to see a turn 2 Matter Reshaper. So Kira's pretty solid, especially with Master of Waves for devotion and protection. But we might be far away from the 3rd blue. We do have Spreading Seas to take him off of that Eldrazi temple, which could potentially be pretty strong. Another Island Walk Lord. So we're drawing through this stuff, but we're running out of time to hit more lands. Opponent's going to go to attacks. I'm going to go from 20 down to 17. Second main, they had no more lands. So, okay, we got some time with that Spreading Seas. And there's that land. Fantastic. So, with all of this power in hand, it seems pretty obvious that I should just play the Kira first. If we draw a land, we can follow up with Master of Waves, protection from Kira, and extra devotion from Spreading Seas. Okay, so the opponent hit a land, and not just any land, but a colorless land. So a great draw for them. Opponent swings with Matter Reshaper. There's no way I'm trading with this thing, so I'm going to drop to 14, putting some pressure on my life total, but still no plays. So just passing with mana up. And magically I hit my 4th land. So here, I figured, let's get in with Kira, poke for 2 points of damage, and then second main phase, play out the Master of Waves for 4 tokens. Pretty strong stuff. If he has 2 Path to Exiles in hand, the Kira will eat them during attacks, presumably, and then I can follow up with Master. Hopefully the opponent's out of removal at that point. So we go to attacks, swing with Kira, and when the opponent, as soon as the opponent tapped 2 mana, I knew that I had made a huge mistake. So this is a big lesson, a big lesson that I learned in this game, is that Blessed Alliance is a thing now in Modern. And if you have a single very important creature sitting on the board, and with the opponent having 2 mana up, including white, just don't attack into it, right? It's just 2 damage. The Kira is so valuable to my position right now in this game. And I basically just gave her up. It was like getting punched in the stomach. It was a big mistake. There was literally no reason not to play out the Master of Waves ahead of time, except to play around like double path on Master instead of double path on Kira. If I play the Master out first and then attack with a bunch of elementals, of course, Blessed Alliance does nothing. I just sacrifice an elemental. But as I mentioned, I got gut punched here, lost my Kira. What a blowout. Now all of my creatures are vulnerable. So I'm going to have to go with Reejerey here as a backup after getting blown out that way. Hopefully the opponent doesn't have removal and I can cast and untap some lands and get a couple lords established and then finish things off with Master of Waves. Oh, what a path for the Merrow Reejerey. So he had Blessed Alliance and Path. Hopefully running low on mana at this point, but I do get to get a land for my troubles. Opponent taps and rips a land off the top, so... I know it's coming. It's a Thought Knot. What is he going to take? He took one of my 3 Island Walk Lords. I'm not sure that that was the optimal choice there. Opponent's going to swing in again. Our life total continuing to go down. Reejerey, you're so slow. But we have a choice between basically playing out 2 Island Walk Lords or Reej and an Island Walk Lord. Reejerey gives us more tapping and untapping next turn, so in the end, fairly straightforward decision just to play out Reejerey and the Lord of Atlantis. I'm going to untap one of my lands. The opponent knows the cards in my hand. I'm not that worried. Alright. Just hope that they have garbage here. They missed a land drop before, so they have to be ripping these off the top of the deck. Very unfortunate draws for us. Alright, so 5 mana. We have Matter Reshaper, Thought-Knot Seer, and Reality Smasher. Matter Reshaper, Thought-Knot Seer, Reality Smasher. Alright, so you guys want to think about how you block here? I think it might be pretty obvious. Definitely don't want to trade for the Matter Reshaper. That would just be dumb. We can't take it all because it's lethal. Total is 12 right now. We can kill the Reality Smasher, but then both of our guys die. He assigns 3 and 2. Reejerey dies, then the Lord dies with marked damage. Now the best option is going to be to double block the Thought-Knot Seer. He can only kill one of our Lords. He can assign 3 and then 1. One Lord will live. If I was him, actually knowing that I had Master Waves in hand, I would probably get rid of the Lord of Atlantis rather than the Reejerey to take me off of Devotion. I'm going to have to take 8 and go all the way down to 3, but I get to draw a card off the Thought-Knot Seer. And that card, you know, being on the back foot the way that I am, the card could make all the difference. So the opponent chose to get rid of Reejerey. I guess he was feeling defensive after my win in the second game with all those Reejerey tap triggers. Here's my trigger to draw a card off the Thought-Knot Seer. A hidden island, so many lands. But I guess this is actually good because 6 mana lets me cast both of my guys next turn. And I drew another land for the turn. So, yeah, it's going to be Lord into Master. Netting 6 tokens. It's blockers. He hopefully used up all of his removal already. No attacks to be had yet. Opponent plays a Plains. It's on 2 cards. Plays an Eldrazi Displacer. We have to be careful because he still has colorless mana up to activate this guy. He goes to a combat, goes to attacks. And let's see. Just super aggro, turning his guys sideways. So a very easy decision just to throw one of the elementals in front of the Matter Reshaper. Unfortunately, he's going to get to draw a card off of that. Could be garbage, could be good. Then we just need to prevent some damage from Reality Smasher. We have to, on board, he can blink one of my elementals. So for example, if I put 3 elementals on Reality Smasher trying to prevent 3 damage and only take 2 and live, go down to 1, Eldrazi Displacer could blink one of those 3, and I would take 3 damage and go to 0. So I got to put at least 4 elementals, and if he's got a path for the Master of Waves, then I'm just dead anyway. So I'm just going to put 4 elementals, leave back one of the elementals to block with, I mean to attack with next turn, possibly. Or to block with in subsequent turns. Okay, so 4 here, if he blinks one of them, there's still 3 toughness blocking, and I'll still only take 2, and I'll be at 1 life. I'll have a decent board. Let's actually figure out if I draw another Island Walk Lord, say off the top, then we'd be swinging for 4, 4, 5. That's 13 plus, excuse me, plus 6 with the Mutavault would be exactly lethal. So actually Reejerey gets the job done anyway since we have redundant Island Walk. So yeah, potentially threatening lethal next turn, but it doesn't look like it. He's got a blocker for the elemental. A 3/3 just eats my 2/1 cleanly. The opponent's tapping for something. And okay, it looks like what they did was they targeted Master of Waves with Eldrazi Displacer. And this sort of makes up for my enormous blunder earlier in the game with attacking with Kira into open white mana. When you blink Master of Waves, I guess the opponent thought it was going to make my tokens die, because Master of Waves is the only thing keeping them alive. But the elementals, their power and toughness is not checked by the game until state-based actions can be checked, and that only happens when somebody would have priority. So when Eldrazi Displacer's ability resolves, Master of Waves goes away and comes back before priority is gotten again. So all that happens is all the elementals stay in play, but then I get more elementals. So 7 more elementals, is that? Well, 6 more in addition to the one that I had back. So opponent's probably feeling pretty bad about that. His Matter Reshaper is going to get to draw a card. And looks like he drew a Windswept Heath. And yeah, at that point I won. So it's hard to say what would have happened if the opponent hadn't made that blunder. He would have had up Displacer to prevent one of my creatures from attacking next turn. I didn't draw a card, so I don't know what my next top deck would have been. But he would have lost his Reality Smasher. He would have really only had the Displacer to work with. He drew a Windswept Heath off of the dying Matter Reshaper. 1 card in hand. So, you know, I would have felt pretty good in the position, but he basically just lost himself the game by blinking my Master of Waves. Oh, so that was a dramatic game 3 of round 3. So thanks for watching, guys. Let me know your thoughts. And please tune in for the next video where I'll be going into round 4 of this Modern Friendly League. Currently 3-0 after beating Scapeshift, Jeskai Control, and now Bant Eldrazi. So thanks, guys. I'll see you soon. Bye.